And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports, episode number 42. Almost a full year. We got another month and a half or so for our 1 year anniversary with the Podbean network. It started off with me and King, and now we brought Shoulders into the fold. But how's everybody's week going so far? You know, we're recording. Well, I'm recording today. It's Thursday, and one more day. The weekend. Last weekend, I was down in Philly with the Stadium Series to watch the exciting comeback from the Philadelphia Flyers, being down 3-1. But I'll get into that. Plus, we're gonna touch on a little tribute to my first ever favorite player for the Flyers, I guess you could say, Wayne Simmonds, being traded Monday. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And we also have a UFC pay-per-view this weekend coming up. Jon Jones versus Smith. But you know, we'll see if Jones could actually make it to the pay-per-view event without getting popped for steroids or coke or whatever drug he's using this time around. There's always drama with him. But before we get into all that stuff, head over to Twitter and follow my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports. You can follow the show at ST Sports Podcast, which I pretty much run the whole Twitter account, and most of the time I'm more on that than my personal one. So if you want to get in touch with us somehow, you're probably better off doing that. You could check out Shoulders' Twitter page. It's Shoulders_bro. Head over there, send some messages to him. You know, he'll comment back to you and maybe argue with you like he likes to argue with me. Maybe for once he'll be a little different, you know. But so yeah, like I said, you know, we'll start off with the UFC talk first, because I saw some interesting things about the pay-per-view and some of Jon Jones's comment during the press conference this past week. Someone asked him if he were to be victorious, which he's a heavy favorite in this one, like most of his fights. If he wins, who would he like? Would he want to move up to heavyweight? And if he were to move up to heavyweight, who would he rather fight, Brock Lesnar or Daniel Cormier? And I don't know if it's surprisingly, but in a way it is, but in a way it's not. He chose to fight Brock Lesnar if the opportunity were to be presented to himself. The only reason why I'm not surprised by this, and everybody knows about this being well documented, that him and Daniel Cormier have a very heated rivalry. They've already fought each other twice. The second time is when, or the first time, Jon Jones, you know, he beat Cormier. Second time he beat him, but then got popped for steroids. That's where I think the whole pictogram thing started, which was 2-3 years ago. Now, yes, you know, he did dominate him, Cormier. So again, I can see why he wouldn't want to fight Cormier again. And Brock Lesnar is a big name, just in the entertainment business, I guess you could say. You know, he's with WWE right now, making tons and tons of money. But it's kind of like the Conor McGregor effect. You know, he's a big name. He'll sell a lot of pay-per-views just off his name. But the only downfall with Lesnar is, and I'm a Lesnar fan, don't get me wrong. When he came to UFC, yes, I know he beat a overaged Randy Couture to win the belt. Tim Hague, and then when he fought Cain Velasquez, that's when he finally met his match. He hasn't won a fight since 2010. He hasn't fought in UFC since 2016. So one, as far as Lesnar goes, is he going to be... I mean, obviously he's going to be in shape because he's wrestling every week, or he's training to be able to wrestle every week if need be. But wrestling in the WWE compared to being in fighting fitness, two totally different things. Then you put on top of that, you're going up against one of the best. I'm not saying the greatest, because if he could stay clean for 5 years, even a year, stay clean for a year, maybe I'll start thinking about putting you back into one of the greatest ever to fight in UFC. But you're putting him up against one of the best in the game. This is not going to end well. It'll almost be like another CM Punk type fight. It won't last long. The only way I could see Brock Lesnar winning is somehow if he could get close enough to Jones and grab him and then get him on the ground and try to wrestle him and ground and pound. Other than that, Jones is just too quick, has too many tools that he could use against Lesnar, and it just would not be a good match. I would honestly probably rather see Daniel Cormier against John Jones. Excuse me. For a third and final time, because whatever outcome goes, it has to be the end. Now, Jones did say that if he were to move up to heavyweight, because this wasn't his idea, this is a lot of the media's idea, and I think even Dana White may have brought up a couple times in the past. But Jones did say if he were to move up to heavyweight, he would fight at 235 pounds, which is close enough that he could bounce between light heavyweight and heavyweight, which I think Cormier, I think he normally weighs in about 245 when he's fighting a heavyweight. I've always wanted to see Jones fight in heavyweight because he's so tall and lengthy. Stefan Struve just fought, I think it was last weekend, and he ended up going out on a win, and he ended up retiring. They call him the skyscraper because he was like 6'5", 6'7". He was tall. And I always thought he would actually be something, but just never came about it, as a champion. But with Jones is 20 times better than Stefan Struve. Same type of build. I'd be curious to see how well he would do in the heavyweight division. Especially now 235 though. I mean that's a little light. I mean Cain Velasquez is right around that weight, which I think he's done as well. But I'm not going to be rooting for Jones this weekend, just because he's had so many chances to turn it. I don't want to say turn his career around, but show the fans and the MMA community that I messed up once. I learned my lesson, but he has never. He won that belt when he was young. And since then, every year, there's some type of issue with him. And now this year, he wants to fight at least 4 times if his body could hold up. I just can't see him being able to do that because he hasn't proven that he could do it. So let's just, for shits and giggles, say he pulls off the win, doesn't get popped for steroids or any other type of drugs, and he goes into the UFC 235 pay-per-view this Saturday and beats Anthony Smith. Now, like I said, I'm picking him. I'm picking Anthony Smith to win. It's more of a hatred pick than who I think is going to win. I think John Jones is going to win. But then again, everybody thought GSP was going to beat Matt Serra, and look what happened with that one. Now, as far as this card, I mean, this card's stacked. Just to give you a quick rundown of the card, you got John Jones and Anthony Smith for the light heavyweight title bout in the main event. You have Tyron Woodley going against Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title bout for the co-main event. Then you have Ben Askren making his UFC debut finally after all these years, going up against Robbie Lawler, which, you know, yes, Robbie Lawler is older, but he's still a hell of a competitor. And I've always wanted to see Ben Askren fight in UFC because he always says he's the toughest wrestler out there. And yes, Bellator has some good fighters, but not the caliber that UFC has. He went to one championship, fought a couple times there, but one championship to me is kind of like a double A. If you're thinking like baseball analogy type wise, and then Bellator would be like the triple A to me. And obviously UFC is the majors. If you make it to UFC, you got some talent. Also, you got Tisha Torres versus Weili Zhang. Hope I said her name right. In the women's strawweight bout, you have Cody Garbrandt versus Pedro Munoz in a bantam bout. That's the main card, and I'm pretty sure the prelims are probably still stacked as well. It's just weird how this all came together. So, but to go down the list, so like I said, I got Anthony Smith beating John Jones, and you never know. I mean, if he could get him into the 4th, 5th round, that's the one thing Gustafsson showed, is if you get him to the late rounds, he starts tiring out. For the welterweight title bout, I'm going to go with Usman, just because Woodley, I can't remember the last time he fought. I mean, he's another guy that fights like once a year, once every 2 years, because the matchups don't match, or this or that is the wrong reasons. Listen, you should fight the number one guy, whether it's matchup wise not right for you, or he sneezed at you the wrong way. Number one guy means he's going after the title. Now, I did like what Tyron Woodley said about the whole interim belts that are getting thrown around. If you've listened to the past couple episodes, I've talked about how it's just complete stupidity of how UFC uses it. In the welterweight bout, you got Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren. I mean, I've only watched Ben once or twice, and I've seen a lot of Robbie Lawler. I'm gonna go with Ben Askren, and I think he's just gonna do his style of ground and pound. I think he's gonna get him down and just not let him out. Now, if Robbie Lawler could connect on one of those overhands, it's gonna be curious to see how much of a chin Askren has. Then we have Tisha Torres versus Zhang in the women's strawweight belt. I've always liked Tisha Torres. I mean, first off, she's hot as hell, tiny, but she knows how to fight. I would take her over some of the guys in that same type of weight division. She's very entertaining. So I'm going to go with Tisha Tori's third round stoppage. Then, to start the main card off, I believe, it will be Cody Garbrandt versus Pedro Munoz. Now, Cody's trying to make the way back up to a title, chance at the title again. And I think, with the bantamweight division, yes, they have fighters in there, but the talent after the top, like 2 or 3, drops off a lot. And I think he's going to pull this out with a knockout win, setting up a possible TJ Dillashaw rematch, which could be entertaining again. It's another good trash talking leading up to it. I hope the commissions don't step in, but we'll have to wait and see. But so that's going to be my picks for this weekend's UFC 235, which is Saturday night starting at 10 p.m. Eastern. And if you go on UFC.com's website, they tell you how you can order it and stuff like that. Pretty sure you probably go buy it through the Fight Pass. UFC, if you want to sponsor us, that's Stay Tuned Sports. I'd be okay with that as well. So, speaking of, since we were kind of talking about fighting, last Saturday I was at the Stadium Series game with my oldest, and Wayne Simmonds has always been one of my favorite players since I started to follow the Flyers back in, I think it was back in 2014 is when I started to get into hockey. I watched the playoff series against the Rangers, and to see how we lost, and just, I don't know, just the Rangers just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know if it's because it's a New York team, because I don't like the New York Giants. I don't like the Jersey Devils. Following the season, I started to follow them, watched them whenever I could watch them, and I always liked Wayne Simmonds' style of play. He's very gritty. He always laid you out if you weren't looking. And the one thing that I always loved about him is what drew me to him is him standing in front of the net, trying to get the rebounds or cleaning up, some of the mess, with the pucks or whatnot. I mean, let's be honest. If you just stand there, he's basically just like a goalie with less pads, waiting for one of his players to shoot the puck 100 miles an hour at him so he could deflect it in. And one little wrong move, and he's going to get hurt. But watching him play Saturday night, knowing pretty well that he was going to get traded up Monday, he left everything out there. If you go over to bellyupsports.com, I wrote an article, like kind of my tribute to him. It was almost like watching, and I use this analogy in the article. It was almost like watching Brian Dawkins' last game as a Philadelphia Eagle. Anything that moved, he hit, and he made you pay for it. Yes, I know, he didn't get no points, he didn't get no goals, but you could tell he played his heart out. It was almost like the Flyers told him, listen, come Monday, you're going to be gone. And, down 3-1, the first hit that happened was the Dublin hit, and that happened on my side of the ice, and I saw it coming a mile away, and it was a typical Wayne Simmonds hit. I think it was legal. It looked like his shoulder hit his chest and then rose up to the head. You ask the Penguins fans, and I'm pretty sure that Shoulders will say tomorrow that there's a shoulder to the head. It should have been a penalty and this and that. Chris Letang had come over and wanted to fight him, and I understand the NHL is trying to get rid of fighting and player safety and stuff like that, but the refs were having none of it, and that wasn't the only big hit that Wayne threw down. But I'll tell you what, like it was a hell of a game. It was drizzling a little bit. Second period, there wasn't much precipitation, but it was a fun game. My oldest is 11 going on 12. He had a blast. He's a Penguins fan. He's a Malkin fan. And a little quick funny story about it too. And you know what? Before I say this to all the Flyers fans that were at the stadium, that were around us, thank you for being considerate as far as, you know, the trash talking towards my son. And here's a good example that not all of us Philadelphia sports fans are total a-holes. So, and I'll get back on the Wayne Simmonds tribute too after this too. But there was an incident where one of the Flyers fans yelled down to the ice, because Malkin was on the ice, "Malkin, you're a pussy." And my oldest is a huge Malkin fan. He stood up, turned around, looked at the dude, and was like, "Hey, that's not nice." And the whole section laughed and everything. The guy, you know, shut up and sat back down. My son sat back down. I'm thinking, oh, guys, gonna get my ass kicked, you know, by these Flyers fans, and I'm gonna have to figure this out. And to take that story a little step further, a few minutes later, Malkin came back out on the ice, and a guy yelled back out, "Malkin, you suck." And he waited a few seconds and said, "Don't worry, kid, I'm not gonna say pussy again." You know, like it was the funniest thing. And the worst that the Flyers fans got towards my son was, "Hey, make sure you tell your dad to buy you a Flyers shirt on the way back." You know, and like they were very respectful to the kid, and I appreciate that. And you know, as far as Wayne Simmonds goes, talking about respect, after the game, I'm not sure if anybody saw the video yet, but after the game, Oscar Lindblom had the helmet of the game, you know, player of the game type thing, and wanted to give it to Claude Giroux. And then he did something also, and I have a clip here of it that you guys can listen to. And let me find it real quick, and I'll play it for you guys. But it was kind of cool. Little tip of the hat to Wayne Simmonds. And so here it is. So there's Oscar Lindblom.
Oscar, I appreciate that, but I can't accept it. I mean, all day. I think Jake deserves it. He's a machine tonight. Let's go. Look, I thought I was gonna get it first, to be honest, and I was gonna pass it to someone. But I might still do that. Obviously, in this situation we don't know what's gonna happen Monday. But I gotta give it to one of my best friends. We don't know what's gonna happen with him. He deserves it for 8 years he's been here. Simi, whatever happens, we love you. Hopefully you're gonna stay around. This is for you, buddy. Pass it on.
But obviously that's a huge win there, fellas. That was monstrous, going against our rival. 70,000 screaming fans. That was an unbelievable game, boys. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Hope I'm still here. But either way, boys, keep making this push. Keep our hopes alive and our dreams alive, and let's get them next game on Tuesday, fellas.
And so, come Monday morning, well, not Monday morning, Monday afternoon, is when Wayne got traded. And if you want to find that clip, if you go over to NBC Philly or the Philadelphia Flyers website, they have it on there as well. It's, like I said, it's pretty cool. You can see the emotion behind getting, the Player of the Game award. And as far as I went, come Monday, because I was off Monday because with the rain they weren't sure when they're gonna play it. pretty much this is how my afternoon went. Was I kept refreshing Twitter to see if he got traded, and then it came out that they were looking for a first round and a prospect pick, and teams were shying away. I'm thinking, all right, here we go. We'll probably be able to keep him. And 3 p.m. came, and no news of him getting traded, and I was happy as picking shit until about 3:02. That's when it came out that he was traded to Nashville Predators for Ryan Hartman and a conditional 4th round pick. Not exactly what we should have got back, but for a player that is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, at least we got something. And I did like the fact that Wayne already came out and said that come free agency, he will definitely keep Philadelphia in mind as far as re-signing. And I think it's possible to re-sign him. I don't think he's going to get a $10 million a year contract or anything like that. I think he's going to get about $2 or $3 million more than what he's getting now. And from the rumors with the Flyers, they're going to have plenty of cap space. Yes, I know they got to re-sign Provorov and Konechny, and they're going to have to sign Carter Hart in the next year or two. But I think we still could sign him. And I don't know if that's my heart talking or that's me being reasonable. So I'm hoping he comes back. I watched Ryan Hartman Tuesday night. I was impressed. I thought he had a good game. He canceled out a couple of icing calls. 2 huge hits he had. Got a little scrum. So, he's not shying away. He's not what I was expecting now. I know it's one game. I'm watching off and on right now the Flyers against the Blue Jackets game. So I really haven't got to see how he's doing. But as far as Wayne goes, and like I said in my article, Wayne, first off, if you listen to my show, please retweet me because that'd be cool as shit. But thank you for everything. Thank you for all your hard work that you put into Philly. You will forever be loved in Philadelphia with Nick Foles and Jason Kelce and Allen Iverson and all the other Philadelphia greats. So, but I think that's going to be it for this week, guys. Well, tonight. Tomorrow I'm recording with Shoulders. Should be a big show. We should have a lot of football talk. The NFL Combine started this week, so there's a lot of trade talk going on. We'll probably recap the Alliance week from last week. Some Johnny football news, Johnny Manziel. So we'll see how that goes. You can head over to Twitter. Follow my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports. You can follow Shoulders at shoulder_bro. And then you can follow the show at ST Sports Podcast. As well as head over to bellyupsports.com. They have a bunch of articles over there, different sports, whatever you're into. Plus some podcasts on there on their website so you can click and listen to. Great guys. But till tomorrow, this is your good friend Jimbo signing out.